Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today's guest is Sweden's top medical doctor, TEDx speaker, and expert in reducing stress. For more than 30 years, she has educated, coached, and trained thousands of people on the topics of emotional well-being. And today she's going to share with you new insights, ideas, and information to eliminate stress. Would you please help me welcome to the live stream Dr. Annika Sorensen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. Now, the story goes like this. At age 30, you've just graduated from medical school. Within the weeks that followed, your brother committed suicide and you'd been struggling with mental health issues. Your daughter died at 10 weeks of age and you hit rock bottom and you wanted to escape. So if we can start there, how did this stress impact you and what did your life look like at that stage?
Well, before this all happened, I had a great life. It took me some years to get into medical school, so I was a late bloomer in that sense. But, I tried every year and finally got in, had some great years studying. And then all of this happened within 1 week. The summer, right when I took my exam. So I got into that black hole where you don't want to see anything and you don't want to be anywhere but right there. And I could have stayed. But when people started to talk about me as being a victim, I decided I am not a victim. That's not me. So I had to do something to get up. And I had friends who helped me. And I also, of course, I did go to a psychologist for a while to just see what can you do when life is smashing you right in your face. And I was just then going to start to work as a doctor, and I was supposed to help others. And it's kind of hard. I was all new at what I was doing, so I hardly knew what the doctor did. I'd just been studying. And, but I, one step at a time, taking good care of myself, realizing that was the key, that, go to sleep in the evenings and eat properly and take walks, do ordinary life things in a good way to be good to myself. That's how I got out of it, and it took some years before I was really comfortable with meeting any patient, because some patients, they triggered what I've been through because of their stories. And when you're a doctor, you're not supposed to say anything about your own life in that meeting, so you hold it back, and it was a tough time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the years right after, I got 3 more kids. So I gave birth to 4 kids in 6 years.
Wow. And I think as a father, a child passing away must be one very traumatic event. You can only imagine what it would be like, but to go through it personally. Now, once you got down into that pit of despair, I'm hearing that your patients are coming to you. What they're sharing with you is starting to trigger something in you. What they're going through is triggering the unresolved events within yourself. Over the years, how has your medical practice developed, and what problem are you helping your clients overcome today?
Well, at that time and for most of my years, I still work as a doctor in the primary care. So they come with everything, small, big, whatever. And it like I said, it took some time before I could meet anyone. But today they can say anything, and I never show anything on the outside, and I can handle it on the inside because I am. You're never finished with grief for a child, but it's it doesn't sting and hurt that much, so you can live your normal life. And I have my 3 beautiful daughters. They are grown up today, so I'm very lucky.
Now, in all businesses, we have leaders. And my definition of a business in leader is a person who gets results. And they've got to be able to get results. And second to that, they have to be able to get followers. And leaders, maybe like a doctor, sometimes you can't show what you're really feeling. Maybe you don't want your followers to understand what you're going through. So we tend to put a smile on. We tend to bite the top lip and we hold the tongue in and we don't share what's going on with us. So leaders also experience stress. What's some of the struggles that you're seeing here with leaders who are experiencing stress? What are those struggles that you're seeing today?
Yeah, you see, when I was working in the healthcare clinic, I almost hit the stress wall myself. It's some 10 years ago. So, and what I had seen in my patients was that people who were leaders and coming as patients, they didn't want to talk about it, or they never told it on the first call, so to speak. They had to feel the trust to be able to say it out loud that they not feeling well inside, because you are, as a leader, you are supposed to show the good side and the nice side and the smile and all that, and you take care of everyone else but yourself. So about 10 years ago, I decided to start my company, Ask Dr. Annika, and work with the leaderships to help them not get down in that hole that I was in, because you don't see it coming before it kind of creeps up on you. So I try to get out as early as possible to be able to stop the process in people.
I was here at the local night market, and hopefully when you come to Taiwan, I were just talking off air, you said that you had plans to come to Taiwan. I want to take you to a place where I saw a hamster on a hamster wheel. And I'd never seen this before. I'd always heard the metaphor and the analogy of somebody being on a hamster wheel. So I'm down at the local night market and I saw a hamster running on the hamster wheels. And I stopped and I looked at it, and this hamster's running. Its little 4 little legs and its fat little body's going a million miles an hour on the hamster wheel. And I was looking at it and I thought to myself, God, that looks like me. And I said to my wife, I said, Nenny, quick, come over here. Check this out. She said, what are you doing? I said, there's a hamster running on the hamster wheel. And when she came over, this hamster lost its energy. Obviously, it needed to catch up on breath, so it stopped running. But that inertia and the movement of the wheel was still moving. And the hamster literally stopped, locked its legs on the side of the wheel, and then all of a sudden, it started to spin around upside down on the hamster wheel, and it went around about 3 times. And then on the 4th time, it let go, and it just shot up in the air. And it flew outside of the hamster wheel, and it went about a foot up out of the cage. And I'm seeing this in slow motion. It goes up in the air, pauses, and then falls back down into the cage. And it landed on its back, and it looked like a turtle on its back, and its little hamster legs are up in the air. And I was laughing, and I said, Ninny, this is me. She said, what do you mean? I said, that's like me. As soon as I stop, I hit the deck and I collapse. And I think this is happening to a lot of leaders.
This is exactly how it is.
Yeah. How does this impact a leader? Because, obviously they become tired, they become ineffective. How's this impacting them privately and professionally, this problem?
Well, it has a great impact because you get tired and you do more faults. You kind of can't keep up with things, and then people start not obeying what you're saying because you give double orders because you can't control it. When it's too much in the brain cannot hold. It can only hold one real thought at a time. And when you have too many jumping in there, and they don't have any energy to stop doing what they're doing because the list is so long, and I have to do this and I have to do this, and they think they are caring for the personnel and for the customers and all of that, but they're not doing a good job. because you can't do a good job when you are too tired and things are running too fast. No one can. It's nothing wrong with them. They are just experience how we function as human beings, as biological creatures.
The Cleveland Clinic recently reported that we have about 60,000 thoughts per day. And we say that up to 95% of those are just on repeat. And 80% of those that are on repeat are negative in nature. And I've heard a lot of leaders say before, I need a break. I need time out. So they get to this point of realization, I need a rest. But I like what you said before, you can only have one thought at a time. But there's a lot of competing thoughts. And what I see with leaders, they say, I need time out, but if I take my hands off the control, this business is going to wipe out. If I take a break, there's nobody there to slot in. And I see that with leaders, there's a lot of fear there as well to actually stop and take a break. From a medical perspective, how does this really impact their bodies? What's some of the damage that they're doing to their body when they don't take a break?
Like I said, stress is part of our natural biology. So the stress system is always active. It takes us out of bed in the morning. It helps us eat breakfast. All those basic normal things. But and if we sit down or do it in a normal pace and sit down in between what we do, they stay on a normal level. But when you don't get the rest between running for the bus and then doing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, if you never go down on the level to the normal level, those hormones are gonna hurt your body. And it's the mishmash of those that makes us make all those faults, and we get easily get cold. It affects the immune system, and we get grumpy, and we do all kinds of stupid things that we wouldn't normally do. And in the long run, if it keeps on going, we lose our self-confidence. We don't believe in ourselves, or we get cynical. Don't care. And also it affects your physical body from the inside because of too much, mostly cholesterol. No, cortisol, I mean. Just have to find the right
stress
word.
hormone.
Yeah. The cortisol, and keep it and when that stays on a higher level, it destroys your cells from the inside in your bloodstream. So you get the risk for cardiovascular disease, hypertension, stroke, I think even dementia, obesity. There are some forms of cancer, they say, is coming from too much cortisol and the stress. And also depression is one of those things. If we go on a high level of cortisol for a long time. There are other hormones involved too, but this is the most important one. So you need to take a break. And if you take the break in the beginning, when you're starting to get too much, short breaks. And if you continue too long, you need to take 5 days or 5 weeks or even 5 months. And when you are really hitting the wall, you need 5 years to get back. And you won't get back to the same place where you were. And you don't want to be at the same place where you were because that made you sick.
One of my mentors, he experienced adrenal fatigue. And like you said here, he wasn't out for 5 days, he wasn't out for 5 weeks, he wasn't out for 5 months. It took him 2.5 years to recover from his adrenal fatigue. And although he was out there pursuing his goals, and I think there's a big confusion out there in today's world, Dr. Annika, we see these memes on Facebook. You'll see a high-rise building. All the lights will be blacked out except the room of the entrepreneur. And it'll be like 4 a.m. I'm grinding away. We have these other things like join the 5 a.m. club. And I think it's all magnificent, and I think it's all romantic to think that's what you've actually got to do to grind and succeed. But there's a huge danger. There's a huge price. And it just happened to me the other week. I've been grinding. I've got projects running. I want to stop, but I realize it takes a lot of discipline to stop. It's very easy to stay in that flow. And I had an ex-girlfriend. She used to say to me, Daniel, only dead fish go with the flow. And so I tried to stop, but then I really had to be disciplined about it. I had to leave my house, and my son and my wife, we went and stayed in a hotel for 3 days because I had to get myself out of the office. I couldn't have any of that temptation. And it takes a lot of discipline to stop and have a breath.
Yes, and because we are made for living on the savannah, and we are still the same people, the same function. And there we had these short bursts of being hunted or in a fight with animals, or eat or be eaten. And then we rested. It came automatic. We didn't have a 24/7 society where you can do things all around the clock, and we have the biology for the savannah. We don't have the biology for this, and it kind of misleads us. Just like you said, we do the wrong things because our brain tells us to, because that was the natural way to do it, and it's very hard to adapt. And that's the real stress management work, is to find ways to adapt to the time that we are in.
It is so true with that 24/7 lifestyle. My wife and I, we were both cabin crew, and we worked for Emirates Airline, and it was an around-the-clock airline. And they would always tell us the two most dangerous times of day for flying was around about 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and around about 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was all based on the science and around the circadian rhythms. And those times we should have been in deep sleep, or we should have been resting, we should have been hunting, catching food and sleeping. We're not supposed to be alert. And they even trained this into us to say that you've got to be on high alert if you're having a 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. takeoff, because naturally you want to be asleep at that time. And even if you've had lunchtime at 12 or 1 o'clock, your body's ready to digest, and you should be having that little siesta. But you're not, but your body, the programming, wants to sleep. And we were well aware of that. But did the airline stop flying at that time? No. It was awareness, and you had to be very mindful of it. So Gail asks the question, when is the right time to seek professional help? And I think this is a great question, because I think before we seek professional help, we go and ask our friends. So if my friend's a builder, I start asking him for medical advice. If my friend's a concreter, I ask him for health advice. It doesn't make sense. So when is the right time for us to seek professional help?
The sooner the better is the easy answer. In a sense, it's the best is to kind of take help to make your life in a good way, to structure it in a good way, so that you prevent it before. Because when you are starting to get into the process of getting too much, it's so hard for yourself to see it. And if someone comes and tells you, I think you got a little too much now, you're going to say, oh, I'm not stressed. No. I'm in control, because of who we are from back then. And also we are drained from energy, so we don't take care of our basic, and that's what I really learned back then, like I told you, to sleep when you're supposed to sleep from the clock, circadian rhythm, and to eat on a regular basis, to have energy in your brain when it needs it. And otherwise you get the energy and you just get fat. And also to move your body, because that helps your thinking and you make more valid decisions, and you get smarter if you move your body.
I
So
want
it's
to,
all those just basic things.
yeah, I want to respond here to Gail as well. When is the right time to seek professional help? I think I think people know they should go and seek medical help. I believe that there's one thing within our personalities that prevents us from asking for help, and it's the fear of judgment. And what we've got to understand is that our fear of judgment will stop us from asking for help. So a lot of times people wait too long, the disease gets worse, the problem gets worse. It gets to a point where instead you're trying to prevent something, you're now trying to cure it. And remember that all professionals have heard your story 1,000 times. They've heard your story 1,000 times, told 1,000 different ways, and you're not the first person that they've helped. Now, I think a lot of doctors, from what I understand, they've been trained to create what's called an unconditional positive regard. And an unconditional positive regard is a state in psychology where all consultations are free from judgment. So when you go and seek a professional, their job is not to judge you. You're not going to court. You're going to a people helper. And I believe if we could all get over our fear of judgment earlier, then we would start to ask for help, because there's people who spend years in medical school, like yourself, who are designed to help. But it's us as the patient who we've got to find our motivation to get there faster.
Exactly, but I would also add that the best time is to seek help is before you need the doctor. When you see that you are not catching up with what you're supposed to do, when you feel that you're getting a little bit too tired, you're not really in medical need, but you are in need of someone helping you. And your best friend is not the best one to ask you, because they are biased and they want you to stay the same because they are used to it and they don't want you to be somebody else. And also whatever they help them might not help you, because we are different. So you need to figure out your own needs. So as soon as you realize that this is not good for me, that's when that's the best time to seek help, and not the doctor, but someone, a coach or a mentor or someone who you can talk to free.
One of our friends came to us recently, and she said, I'm having some marriage problems. And I said, well, who have you been asking for help? And they mentioned one of our friends' names. And I said, you're getting marriage advice from a friend of ours who can't stay in a relationship for more than 6 months? I said, you're asking the wrong person. Go to the person who's got the healthy relationship and get the good advice. So, Dr. Annika, I know that you've written a lot of materials to help leaders to live and to lead with less stress. Where can we find more about your latest book, Leadership with Less Stress?
That's actually a freebie, the Leadership with Less Stress. It's on my website, askdrannika.com, askdrannika.com. You find it the first thing when you get there, and you can just download it, and that's a great starter kit. But you still have to work with stress the rest of your life, because it is part of life. It's gonna be there. You have to manage it one way or the other, and you might as well do it in a good way for you.
I believe it. One of the 25 most desirable skills, and for my students who are following me, we talk about this in our core competency. Our ability to manage change is one of the most important competencies that we can develop in this lifetime. And the person who can manage change and stress more effectively is remunerated, I should get the pronunciation, remunerated more handsomely than anybody else. And it is one of those core competencies of a leader. So what I want you all to do today is I want you to go to Dr. Annika's website, askdrannika.com, and download the PDF, Leadership with Less Stress. And what I'll do is I'll put those details in the show notes below, so you can just go and click on it immediately. Dr. Annika, thank you so much for being here with us today. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done it yet, head over to Dr. Annika's website, askdrannika.com. There's a ton of great advice there for you. Dr. Annika, thank you so much for being here with us today. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a nice conversation, really.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, remember 3 very important things: to live life in our terms, to lead our people to a victory, and also to leave a legacy. So make sure you act on one of these ideas today, and one idea at the right time is enough to make you rich. Have a wonderful day, and we shall see you soon. Ciao for now.